Okay, people. So, my audio got screwed for my Mega Paradox campaign for the first three sessions that I recorded, which is about 21 hours. So, we're going to go over this, and I'm going to make each video about an hour. So, the first 21 hours is going to be compacted to 3 hours in three little videos I'm going to do. I'm going to make a little warning here. I'm going to be using console commands to get myself started and to bail myself out of debt once or twice. I don't really have any problems with this, just to let you know, mostly so that this game wouldn't be 60 hours, because it's a lot of waiting when you want to play tall in this game, and I just didn't want Rome to conquer the entire world before we moved on to CK3. I wasn't. I have played Fallen Eagle. I chose not to do it in this one because the same problem arises whether you play Fallen Eagle or not, which is that you still have to wait about 1,000 years till you can get to Europa 4. So, meh. Anyways, getting back to this, I just set up a little bit. I chose our traditions and figured out how many mercenaries I can get and whether or not there were mercenaries on the island. And then I decided to declare war on, I forget what they're called, but it doesn't matter, Western Caledonians. Well, not Caledonians, but I think the Drumoni. And then it's pretty much going to be me using mercenaries to take over most of the British Isles. I don't really have any little stumbling blocks, really. I'm mostly... The big learning curve for this playthrough, since I added the Imperator Conquest mod, is that... your horsemen, because you're a tribal federation, each 1,000 of your army gets led, 1,000 troops of your army gets led by a different member of each of the factions and families. So you usually get horsemen that run off, that go a lot quicker than your footmen do or your infantry do. And that obviously leads to a lot of issues if you're not aware of that. And I eventually put them on auto, and that still doesn't solve the problem. The AI just goes after them as quickly as possible. So yeah, I'm taking Texali now. I already took the North Province, but I sacked their city, so I'm going to have to colonize it in Cornavi. After this, we go after... No, they're the Demoni. Well, whichever. After that, yes. Yeah. Right now, I'm being... Yeah. There's... One of my leaders is about to become like a superstar. Because she's going to pretty much lead us through each of these battles. Brigantia, I think is her name, but I'm not sure. Yeah, here we are making claims. Yeah. We already absorbed them. I mean, we're going at 7 times speed, so here we go. I'm probably gonna give myself some tech soon. Yep. Just a whole bunch of basic stuff, mostly so that I can build as many buildings as possible. So I'm picking up the foundry building. I'm picking up the building slot advantage that you get in the civics chain. Again, because I don't want this game to be 70 hours or 60 hours. And I start building buildings as quickly as possible. As the Caledoni, or the hard-footed ones, you don't really get much, right? You get your basic troops and your basic levies which is about 2,000 troops, and that's about it. So if you want to start building enough that you can actually conquer things without using mercenaries all the time, which doesn't stop anytime soon, you actually need to invest in your areas, build buildings, and build cities, which is the most important, because cities act as population booming locations and conversion and assimilation areas, so, and tax areas, so that you can make lots of money to support just lots of things that you need, and to increase your civilization value, which then gets translated to development in CK3. So it's all kind of important, and when you're playing this way, you need to constantly be focused on building up your infrastructure and kind of countering Rome, because Rome gets really big really quickly and has a lot more developed area, and once they absorb Greece, they get pretty much most of the civilized world at that point, other than Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Iran, and parts of India. And so it's very difficult to get a force that can actually contain them. So I have to go through the route of just getting military tech and upping my military technology to the point where I can have legions, and then having the economic support to be able to afford them. But even then, it takes me a while to get more than one legion, and even then, Rome has a lot of troops, so I mostly have to use mercenaries to be able to beat them at any point. Okay, we're back, and here we go. I'm just thinking about what buildings I want to build in each of these locations. I start sieging out Ireland. For no real reason, I want to take over the British Isles and Ireland before we get to CK. So, Crusader Kings 3, if anyone doesn't know. And this game is Imperator Rome, and I'm using the Invictus mod, I believe it's called, which adds a lot more flavor to the game and gives you a lot more missions that you can do with your group. One of the things that we're going to do from the big mission tree that the Caledonians get is we're going to put a colony in Scandinavia, which is going to grow to... it's going to grow. It's the best way I can say. There we go. Now we've become a regional power. It's going to grow a little bit out of my original estimation, because my original plan was have a province or a territory in Scandinavia and take over the British Isles, and that's it, and try and put a couple of the Gaulish tribes under my protection so that they can survive into the next era, so that it's not just Roman culture that survives. This will have a downside and an issue later on, but I mean, it mostly works out. I mostly am able to save Gaelic or Gallic culture, or the Gaulish culture. It does transform into Brittany, sadly, but that's fine. In the end, the Romans don't end up converting most of the cultures that they assimilate in this game, so... well, I mean, they don't do either. They don't really assimilate them, and they don't really convert them. But, well, you'll see. Here's my first big foray into... Yeah, because after I took the alliance that had most of the North and Eastern Ireland had, I went after Brigantia. I'm always paying attention to my war weariness and my aggressive expansion, which is a little bit high. And this kind of turns into a little bit of a messy battle. But I'm mostly able to... Yeah. Yep, there. Mostly able to get it under control. And they make me chase them, that's for sure. I usually leave the other troops on independent operations and then leave my main force on not. Personal control. Oh, yeah, a lot of cleaning up. Because of the war weariness, I think about tyranny, but I don't do it. Increasing my tyranny that can diminish your war weariness and your aggressive expansion quicker, but me. And I thought about just giving myself unlimited military experience, but there was really no point because I wasn't going to be going on a giant conquest, so learning each of the different groups that we conquered, learning from each of the different groups that we conquered wasn't going to be part of the game, and I wasn't going for a 70-hour game, like I said. So I just kind of skipped that and took whatever military traditions I could get out of the Britannic and Celtic versions. So yeah, doing a little bit more cleanup and cleaning up what they do, because the computer usually puts forts in strategic positions, but usually they also will sacrifice whatever resources underneath it or in the area to put a fort on it. I don't like that, and I don't need that many forts, so I usually put my fort and my capital on a resource that won't change or that I don't mind being the capital resource. I usually don't put it on food resources because that'll change the food resource, so unless it's something I really like. I've never encountered a situation where I thought to myself, oh yeah, let's get rid of this food resource in exchange I want dyes. It's like, no, I don't think so. But you pick and choose which ones you want. Sometimes you want at least one capital. You want the capital to be a city, and you want this is regional capitals I'm talking about. You want the capital to be a city, and you want it not to be a food resource, because when you build a city in a food resource, it will change it. And you also want to put it, generally, as you get bigger and bigger, you'll have different types of resources that you can make the capital. So you want to spread it around, because the more people you get inside the capital, the more resources you make, blah, blah, blah. And so if they end up growing to a ridiculous size, they end up outproducing any of the local settlements that are surrounded by them, which, makes sense. And so you want to generally be careful about having too many of the same type of resource as your capital location. Now, there's also another stream of thought about this, is that you want to make your capital and your city on a resource that is the most lucrative, so the one that's going to give you the most money for trading. It's a totally viable way of doing things, but you will end up having a lot of that resource. So, it doesn't lower the cost of it too much every time you increase the amount of resource in the game, but logically it would. And also, it's nice, like, eventually you'll want your own empire to be producing the goods that you transfer to your capital rather than relying on outside sources. That also depends, because it can be, if you have allies that have a lot of abundant food resources, which playing as the British Isles, you don't get that many wheats, you don't get that many fruit, you don't get that many dates, you don't get that many all these other things that give you food in this mod. So you basically are just stuck with fish and a little bit of grain and livestock, and that is good. They are the kind of the mainstays, but most of the grain is in England or in Wales or in Ireland. Scotland doesn't get any grain at all. It does get an incredible fish resource if you complete chains in if you complete the mission tree. It'll lower the cost of how much people it needs to get a new resource. So if you build into the local infrastructure, you can increase the population totals of each of the little settlements that are doing fishing. You can't, like I said, you don't want to put cities on them, but if you build up a city in the area, that city will then transfer populations once it gets too big or too many people are in it to other areas, both outside of the region and in it. So it's just you can survive on that system and like really take advantage of it and grow your population because the fish resources will start building up quite a lot. But in general, once you get to the late game, it's a nice strategy to get food resources from not inside of your territory, simply because every territory that you take away their food resource inside of your own territory, they have less food to go around for their own province and their own region. So, like I said, it's a weighing game. Generally, if you're playing this type of game, you really don't have to worry about it because I'm not trying to get too big. I'm not trying to take over too much. I'm not like I have there's going to be no real issues with overpopulation in this time period because I have played games where I'm starting to run out of food resources and it becomes tricky. But this is not one of them, and it generally is not going to be an issue. But, me. What's another thing? But like it can be. So again, I urge you, if you are playing the long play in your own campaign and you're actually going to go, play as long as you can, whatever you see that as, I do urge you to consider building up your food supply or building up your food growth percentages. The other thing that you have to worry about when playing as the Caledonians is that you have 2 barbarian bases right on your doorsteps, and they are ridiculous. So they do get overpowered really, really quickly because there's not that much civilization value in this area. So my advice is to increase your civilization value as quickly as possible in the 2 territories that surround it, both Caledonia and Texalia. And the quickest way to do that, generally, other than a lot of finagling with the different troops' powers and the different modifiers that you get to your religion and other things like that, is to build cities and to you don't need too many cities in northern Scotland or whatever, but you do need about 4. So one for each of the province capitals, and then one on either side of them. So in this example, it's kind of tricky because I'm moving around really quickly. But basically, you want one on the western coast and one on the south. Well, it depends, either southeastern or southwestern coast, to create civilization values on all sides of it. It doesn't really matter which position you place them in because they're gonna, as long as it's touching the mountains, that's actually the most important thing. But it is one of those things that it will speed it up if you have civilization values coming from multiple points. Troop values. No, there are morale. I didn't mean troop values. They're in your religion screen. There are things that you can change effects for, and so whichever deity you choose to worship will give you different advantages, and some of them you'll have to sacrifice discipline or troop morale or whatever military deity you have to put in something that increases your civilization value if you choose to go that route. It could be that it's in one of the other ones, like economic or religious, but it's they're all kind of random. I find the abilities they're not really totally streamlined towards helping either the military or your economics or your religion or what have you. Right, okay, here we go. We're gonna run into our first civil war soon. Not yet, but as soon as we took over most of England and Wales, Brigantia becomes a problem. Brigantia is a province. And it becomes a problem. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's not many other things that are too important to notice at the beginning of the Caledonian run. Rome gets big, barbarians are trouble, food is an issue, mercenaries are needed. You gotta urbanize pretty quickly. That can be really tricky if you're not doing console commands because your money is just always going to disappear and your influence is always going to disappear for whatever random event that's going on, and your centralization is a big issue. So you kind of, at the same time as wanting to build cities and stuff like that, you're going to want to change laws to make centralization better so that you become a federated tribe. So then you can become a kingdom or a republic in the mission trees that are available to you. So then you can form the Kingdom of Albion, which is the end-all goal of my run here. And that's all of them are tricky steps. One of them is kind of made easy for you. You kind of have to go through each one and colonize each area that you might destroy by accident or that hasn't been settled yet. Scotland starts with the view. Ireland starts with the view. I mean, the separate tribes makes it all the trickier because you can't really take a big chunk out of it at a time. You have to try and wait for them to get allied and then have them go at each other in a balanced way, or wait for one to get big enough to take over all of his territory at once. I mean, it's basically a very long slog, and usually it takes till about 500, or I should say 200 years in game time to be able to actually finish all of these things. By that point, usually Rome has conquered Gaul, and I wanted to have some of the areas of Northern Europe survive Rome, so it becomes kind of a race where I'm trying to race against Rome's dominance, which is, it's pretty tricky. Yep. Yeah, we're building up our troops, and now we're going to go after Order Vicha. There we go. They have an ally, that's right. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that's tricky. Yeah. The south is what takes forever because they keep on sending troops back into my territory. This fight takes quite a while. And it's not the last time we fight. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Booyah. There we go. Now we have just a couple little more pieces to take in Ireland and technically Scotland, because to take the Isle of Man you need ships, and ships cost money, and I've been trying to save as much money as possible for building. But here we go. Yeah, this is the beginning. The Civil War is going to start happening soon. Yeah, the Galba family. Yeah. I'm trying to. I learned that I have the persuasion ability, which, that holds it off for a little while, but it's not forever. There's the first barbarian horde that really makes it an issue for me. I paid them off, but they still have my place siege, which means they're going to take population. Very frustrating. Usually I would just take them over, or kill them all, but I didn't have the troops for it. Because, as I said before, we're still a separated, we're a settled tribe, but we're still separated. So if I send all my troops at them, they'll go at it in separate parts, which then they'll handedly beat. So not one of those things I really want to do. Now I'm just building and cleaning up. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, building is pretty simple. There are certain resources that are either food resources or mineable resources, in which case you put either a farm settlement or a mining settlement on it. Everything else, it's up to you. If it's on the coast, you have the choice of building a port there. It has its advantages. I usually just build a city on the water, so my port is usually in the city. But it can help each province to have at least one port. I usually don't make villager settlements because we don't need any tribesmen generally to build up our civilization or build up into a monarchy or a republic. I will build legates or whatever they're called, the buildings that will culturally assimilate different populations, usually not in the British Isles or in Ireland, because they all have either Hibernian or Caledonian cultures, or Bretonian, which is basically just instead of Celtic. So they're all accepted to a certain degree. There's no real point to assimilating them culturally. For those of you that don't know, the only way your levies build up, or the amount of population that you can use towards military builds up, and certain situations, depending on how you play it, for you to have citizens and nobles, they have to be part of an assimilated culture, and you have to accept them or integrate them into the culture. Generally, unless you're planning on integrating a certain culture, usually for the purpose of either gaining more population to use as military troops, or for the purpose of learning their military traditions, so that you can expand the capability of your military prowess. You generally don't want to have too many integrated populations, because it makes your main population unhappy. So slowly but surely, all of these people will become Caledonian, which doesn't really bother me because they're all into Celtic. It's not really different. It's just one of them has asserted itself as the founder nation of this culture. I mean, it's problematic in its own ways, but forget it. Doesn't really matter. And I wasn't gonna play a game where I integrated every single culture, because I wanted the Caledonian culture to spread. Now in CK3, it's gonna convert it into Pictish culture, which really bothers me for a lot of different reasons, but mostly because in this version, the Caledonians have transformed their culture, and they're no longer just the Picts. But it's fine in a sense that a lot of people assume that the Caledonians, or the different tribes that lived beyond Hadrian's Wall in the north, eventually did turn into either the Dalriada or the Picts. Most assume the Picts. So I think that it was a giant mix, that there was some group that were eventually known as the Picts that then assimilated with all the rest, or were assimilated by all the rest of the Caledonians. Could have been that they were influenced, that they're original Scandinavian explorers that settled in Scotland, northern Scotland. Could be that they were just direct descendants of the Caledonian tribes that lived north of Hadrian's Wall. Well, no one really knows. It's fine. But I like to think of it like a giant smorgasbord. Some people conquered, some people traded, some people became related. Anyways. So yeah, just building, lots of foundry buildings, so that I can minimize the amount of people it takes to get a resource going. We're just waiting for our aggressive expansion to tick down, because it's now 57 at this point, since we've been expanding so much. But we knew it was going to happen, and we have to centralize anyway, so it's not a big deal. I can't remember when I start building boats. No. Oh, I already have boats. Okay, so it's just a matter of building enough boats. And then, let's see. Yeah, exactly. Move it down so I can get rid of Conquer the Man. And then thinking about what are the laws to change. Yeah, Wotan. There's so much woad. I end up... for those of you that don't know, woad was the thing that the ancient Caledonians used to make their skin blue. They thought it had magical properties, as this mod explains. So it was a prized commodity, blah, blah, blah. We end up having so many cities that have woad as their main resource, which just bugs me for a lot of reasons, because there are better things to make, like glass or dyes, even if I made fun of them, or other things like it. But it also kind of RP in the sense that the Caledonians just kept woad around. And then eventually it just became like a, not just for conflict, but also ceremonial, and all the other things that you could think the include in style. So, eventually the kings and queens would all have a certain amount of woad tattooed on their face in some way or something. Who knows? I just find that funny. We developed, armor and like scale mail and stuff like that, but we still like woad. It's an extra layer of defense underneath the chain shirt, underneath the padded cloth, underneath the plate mail. We also have woad. I love it. Sorry. So yeah, here we go. I'm just taking a look at Rome. What's going to happen? Land is still mostly uncolonized in the east. The Aedui are getting big finally, and the Avernia are also getting pretty big. And the Aravacia. Carthage is turning into a monster. Epirus is actually taking over Greece, which is great. It's not going to last. Same thing with Thrace. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna get brutal in a second. Because we're gonna start to take over Scandia, and we're gonna start to take over all the other territories in the British Isles, and then you're gonna see there's gonna be a little nation that forms called Chaucia, and it's gonna be this little strip of land in northern France that stretches all the way to southern Scandinavia or southern Denmark. And I'm just gonna... At first I'm gonna be kind of like, oh, that's cool, we have a friendly neighbor. And then I'm gonna be like, Chaucia. You connect my two lands together. You're like a little walkway that I can use to get from the British Isles to Scandinavia. I mean, it's kind of like a way of protecting my nations. I can like get from one place to the other if I need to. I'm gonna conquer you. I don't mean to. You see, they're right there. Chaucia. Little pink right next to Mediumaka or whatever they're called. Basically northwestern Germany, and they're gonna spread, and I'm gonna be like, oh, that's cool, keeping some nasty neighbors at bay, and then I'm gonna be like, ooh, that land sure looks nice. Because remember, I really didn't want to take over everything. I just was thinking maybe a little part of Scandinavia. And then it was like, all of Scandinavia. And then it was like, northern France and northern Germany and the Low Countries. Why? And then Rome got big and like started destroying my neighbors, Aedui and Avernia, who I screwed up so many times with their call for aids. I don't even want to get into it. Anyway, so they take them over, so eventually I make them protectorates, and then I have to go to war with Rome. I was trying to avoid going to war with Rome. I just wanted it to be two rising civilizations that kind of,
were wary of each other, but never actually went head to head with each other because they had other concerns. Yeah, here's the first time I actually try and help the Adwai. This, I mean, this is good, but I screw up the next like 4 times. And then they won't be allies with me because I screwed up so much, which is totally fair. It's just one of those things. Oops. Oops-a-daisy. Yeah, exactly. I'm checking them out. I mean, the heritage stuff that they did for each of the different groups that existed in pre-Rome, like, I love it. Lots of good stuff. Yeah, doing some little colonization. Or I guess it would just be like settling. It's more settling. It's not really colonization. But like, I guess early colonization. Technically it's uninhabited, or it's inhabited by very few people. And we're moving a bunch of people there. Yep. Oh, the Civil War's back on, and it's gonna bug the crap out of me. It's the most upsetting thing in the face of the world, because in the end, what are they doing? Like, what are they even trying to do so that they could be in charge of the settled tribe? We're not even a federated tribe. Like, what are you doing? What are you actually saying? You get to be war chief? Okay. Everyone's a war chief. Like, there's no like, what are you doing? What are you actually gonna, like, what's the, anyways, I could get stuck on this again. I got really annoyed the first time when they did the Civil War. I had to restart because I just didn't handle it correctly, and they started buying mercenaries, which made this just a giant nightmare. Yeah, see. Then they eventually sieged out Caledonia, and then they beat us in a battle because of a river crossing, which that just, ooh. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to try and take over the land in Ireland to stop them from sprouting people there, but they're going to just cut across, take me over again. Then they're actually going to siege, and then I'm really screwed, because then they have the advantage of the defendable territories. See how much of a mess it is. Just a giant mess. Just constant. This happens twice. Most frustrating thing. For what in the end? This much chaos, this much people killed. For what? Like, if there was like people who were like being enslaved and shit, it would be like a different story. But the Brigantians are like an accepted, integrated culture. Like, they ain't no second class citizens. Yeah, see, then they take over the land and they constantly make me go back and forth, and then I'm actually not strong enough to take on their main force all at once. Oh, this just becomes a nightmare. I change strategies and eventually pushes them off a little bit, but still problems. And people dying left, right, and center. Almost done. Just have to re-siege my own base. Oh god. I mean, honestly, just constant buffoonery. They took back Ireland as well, but I'm just like, fuck it. Focus on the, pardon my language, focus on the people. focus on the capital. Yep. See, I restarted because they were just gonna restart the whole thing again. So here we go. This time, instead of getting a bunch of troops after the fact, I'm gonna get a whole bunch of mercenaries before. Ugh. Anyway, so that undoes the advantages that we got for the Adwai, which comes back to bite us later. Adwai. Avernii. The Avernii and the Adwai. Anyways. Yay, new city. And new military tradition. And I'll be back in about 5, 4. There we go. Yeah, I'm still pretty pissed about the fact that there was such a civil war there. And I had to go back a fair amount of time, which means I'm going to have to redo almost all the buildings and all the events that happened. Including the colonization. Yep. I mean, it's not great. But I knew how messy that battle was going to be, and it was just going to continuously get worse. Yep. I let them figure it out themselves. And now I see the same problem happening, and I'm like, what can I do to stop it? I persuade her, but it's not going to be enough. She's still going to be annoyed with me. And then eventually she's going to get to Civil War attitude again. Though, persuade, man. If you get a leader with persuade, you can pretty much make anything happen. If you don't know that your characters can get persuade, I'm letting you know now. It's very useful. It's incredibly useful. It's one of the most useful things you could possibly get. Because there is no way of trying to convince other characters not to rebel or not to create a civil war, other than if you have the ability to persuade. Because otherwise you have to go through trying to make friends with them, or you have to accept corruption, which is not my favorite, and pay them off. Either way, neither of them are great, and making friends with them is a random chance. You never know what they're going to ask from you. Sometimes it's just money and a tiger, and sometimes it's you have to give them a slave, you have to murder someone for them, and you have to give them a position that you really don't want to give them. So, all I can say is that it's not exactly perfect, but it'll do. So we're taking over Isle Man. We're doing it a little bit differently. Civil War's gonna happen no matter what. Yeah, there it is. Kicks off there. But this time we're gonna handle them a little bit better because we have the mercenaries already out. And then I put my levies on the mission as well. And we're a little bit better off because we do outpopulate at this point the rest of Brigantia, a little bit at least. Yeah, also luckily they didn't spawn in Ireland like they did last time. It was just all of southern
or all of southern Britain, which is great again, but it's still more manageable. It's still a long fight. They'd make us go over the territory for a while. It's brutal. Yeah. They keep on trying to move upwards and take our territory and restart the whole thing. We lose a bunch of resources because they were all being given to us from England. Then it's just down to the fortresses. That's great, that's great, that's great. And there. Yep. Now we have the hero of the day. Brita. Brita turns out to be the hero of this game. I nearly deify her. She has some of the best stats I've ever seen in this game, naturally, without trying to add stats herself. And she's married to one of the other heads of the family, so they pretty much have the entire stability situation on lockdown. And she has Persuade. So she's pretty much the best. Yeah, we can get back to expanding now that the Civil War has been handled. There we go. Booyah. So now we're almost at the end here. We pretty much got this down. Not too many more things are going to happen in this video. I'm pretty sure going to take over the rest of England, and then we're going to work on Ireland. And that's going to be about it. Yeah, gotta eat. For those of you that don't understand what I just showed off, it was Miss Vicky's all dressed chips. They're wonderful. If you don't know what all dressed is as a chip flavor, I feel sorry for you. You don't live in Canada, and also you don't know what all dressed chips are. As you can imagine, they just have all the flavors on them. You're gonna tell me that doesn't make any sense. That's impossible. And I will tell you, the only one they're missing is umami. And it's okay. It's quite wonderful on its own without umami. Though if you want to try mixing umami on it, you go ahead. I'm sure it can only be made better. It is truly wonderful. It's a Canadian thing. Like I said, if you don't have it, I feel sorry for you. Try and get some all-dressed chips. Miss Vicky's are quite delightful, but
Ruffles is the classic. Lay's has them now. I mean, a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon. So, check it out. I personally really like eating them with tahini or tzatziki or hummus. They're really good. You can even do, I mean, this is a little extreme, but you can even do kind of a chip salad with them by adding in ground beef and a couple of veggies that you find will go well with them. I like onions and tomatoes. That's just me. Kind of an extremely lazy meal, but once in a while it's quite delicious. Okay. We're taking a couple of military texts because I want to be able to stand up to Rome, and that's where we're heading towards. And we've just confederated into the Caledonian Confederacy, which means that we'll be able to choose whether or not we want to become a kingdom or not in the next tree. I'm just going to finish off this one. I've tried playing as a republic and I've tried playing as a monarchy. Both are fine. What I will say is that because CK3 doesn't allow you to play as republics unless you mod it out in a very weird way, you're best off, at least if you want to do your own mega campaign, you're best off taking a monarchy unless you just want to turn the original place into a republic and then just let them be for the next goodness knows how long. You do whatever you want. I wanted to play as the nation that I put so much effort in the CK3 and for beyond that, but I mean, everyone's got their own style of how they want to do things, so don't let me stop you. It's also a good way of avoiding getting too powerful, because I don't know if you know anything about mega campaigns, so I have to assume that you don't. But basically, you can get really overpowered really quickly. It's quite easy to conquer half the world or more in Imperator Rome, and even easier to do it in Crusader Kings 3. And if you do that, then Europa and Victoria 3 and Iron Hearts pretty much becomes a game of you bullying less developed nations across the world, since there will be no developed nations for you to compete with in any way, shape, or form, really. So, it's up to you how you do it. I like leaving about 4 or 5 other developed nations in Europe and around the Mediterranean. It's nice if India is a formed nation pretty early and doesn't get fucked with, pardon my language, much, but, you can't really depend on it. The civil wars happen there a lot, so, meh, but it is kind of cool. And it is kind of cool when, Parthia kind of forms and stays around till later. It's kind of interesting. So it's all interesting. I like I said, I didn't want to get too big too quickly. I figured just take Albion and Scandinavia, and then it grew a little bit into let's take the Baltic and North Sea areas and the surrounding territories there, and then call it a day. And then you'll see in CK3 gets a little bit ridiculous. Okay, so we've taken out Cortina. Now we're just working on the actual Demodia. And then pretty sure we're almost done. I'm just making sure that we can colonize the last couple of locations. And I ignore the call for aid from Adwai. This is probably the first time. Yeah, there's still some parts of Ireland to take, but that's okay. Not too far. Yeah, there are the Demondi. And I'm just cleaning up the territory, make as many buildings as I can. Maximizing food output, just because the worst thing that could happen is you don't have enough food for just the British Isles, when the British Isles can support itself and quite a number of other locations in Ireland. Let's see. Yeah, we're taking over. Yes. And now it's just colonization done. Yeah, I noticed the Edwai revolt finally. That's what the call for aid was. And since I denied it, I'm no longer their ally. Not great. But we see the beginnings. So, Melodia. Okay, we're going to wait until I go back. Yes, you see our neighbors on the English south side of the English Channel is Melodotrium or something like that. They are pretty much going to get absorbed by Chaucia in, I don't know, like 50 years, something like that. And that's going to set us up. Because right now they're acting as the perfect landing strip. And then I'm just going to have no choice but to take that land. I mean, I'm just going to have to. I know. Okay, so final things for this video. We formed the Caledonian Confederacy, which means that we'll slowly be able to choose whether or not we're a monarchy or republic, and that'll lead us to being able to choose Albion. We haven't started taking territory in either Scandinavia or northern France, which is going to happen, but that's okay. We finished off all the tribes that could have risen up against us. We survived a civil war, though we're probably going to go through another one pretty soon. Yeah. I mean, we did pretty good. If you don't know who I am, and you're wondering, why haven't I said my name or anything like that, I forget a lot of stuff, and also you're on my channel, or you're watching a video from my channel. So, I'm Taz, or you can call me A to Z Zatch. I know that's weird, but it's a long story. I like A to Z for a very specific reason. So, that's my streaming name. A2Z, literally ATOZED _ZATCH is my Discord and my Twitch. So, if you like my videos and want to tell me, like my YouTube page or subscribe, or come join me in my streams on Twitch. It's I can't tell you a generic time right now because I don't really have one. I don't know when I'm going to be streaming again, though it's probably going to be soon because I want to finish this campaign. But I also want to finish these videos, and I have another 16 videos to make, or 15, we'll see. So, might be a while. Some of them are shorter, though. Well, I'm probably going to stretch them all down to be an hour. See, this is me making these decisions real time with you guys not involved, but you will be listening, hopefully. Anyways, okay. So, I think that's about it for the end of this run. Yeah, a little about me. I was a theater student. I studied history. I got a bachelor's in it. I'm from Montreal. I'm
Oh, I do lots of stuff, but I'm a big geek and I like to play a lot of video games. So, strategy games are a lot of my jam. I love RPGs. I like a good action adventure platformer. Yeah, anything around. I'm not too big onto racing and fighting games these days, but I do play them once in a while. So this is mostly going to be a mega campaign run. I hope you guys enjoyed. Catch ya!